I just want to give everybody a little bit of background on Qube's architecture so that you understand what's in there and how it works and how some of the new features that we've introduced are brought into play. Qube is a client-server system. It uses a central server that we call the supervisor that's backed by a MySQL database. And there's a bunch of advantages to this sort of innovative use of a database as a queuing engine. And we like to refer to it as reliability, reporting, and recovery. But the fourth element to it is scalability. The MySQL database is an enterprise scale database. It's used by Google and Yahoo and Amazon for a number of things. So in terms of being able to scale up your farm with the appropriate hardware, of course, it's a tremendous engine to have in the back end of the database. In the meantime, in front of that, what we run to interact with the database is a series of threads that we call the supervisor that receive connections from the various clients and from the various jobs that are running on the farm and interact with the database. So the other thing that makes Qube very scalable and very flexible and configurable for your system is the interfaces that we create, so the GUI that Scott's going to show you and the APIs that we use to create the GUI and the command line clients and the integrated job types. These are all written using the same APIs that we make available to you. So Perl, Python, and C++, all the functionality of Qube is exposed through these APIs. And you can create your own interfaces, you can create your own clients, you can create modifications to our interfaces. We give you the code, the Python code for our GUI, although we ship a compiled version for optimal speed on every platform. So it's very open, very flexible. It's meant to be a framework. Now, the other thing that you need to understand is that every job type we create, when we support an application like Maya, for example, we call it a job type. And every job type we create has a front end and a back end. And on the front end, that's the interface. And maybe there's an interface built into the application itself. Certainly that's the case with all the major applications. And maybe there's a submission dialog built into the Qube GUI, or maybe there's a command line tool, or whatever you're using to submit the jobs to the farm. And then there's a back end job type, which is an executable that's created around the application. So rather than just having everything run as a shell script or as a wrapper script, there's actually a much more involved API, and we can have a much deeper integration with each of the applications if we so desire. Or if you want to throw something together, quick and nasty, of course you can do anything that's scriptable on any machine anywhere. So there's a lot of flexibility there. One of the key elements about Qube is the idea that all of the workers and the submission clients and the supervisor have access to central storage. Now, this isn't strictly necessary, but we feel that if you're going to go to the trouble of setting up a farm and do distributed processing, there are huge advantages to doing it this way. So you can see here in this diagram on the right, these are the workers, and these are either the dedicated machines that are running renders or desktop machines that are harvested at night or weekends or when people aren't around. And then on the left, you see the clients that submit the jobs. And so all the green arrows show how all of the clients submit the jobs directly to the supervisor, and all the jobs are dispatched to the various workers on the right via those green arrows. And then for interacting with the scene files and loading the applications and writing the log files and all that kind of thing, you see the dotted blue arrows that interact with your central network storage. So again, your network storage and your supervisor have to be scaled appropriately for the size of farm you're building, but the network traffic that Qube creates is very parsimonious. It's an internal protocol that we use, and it's a very, very low traffic system. So that's not generally a concern. You'll pass more data rendering one frame than you will passing around the data that Qube has to consider.